Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the NBA coverage. This is going to be the fourth show that I'm going to be having on the Ivy Talks podcast platform. We have Uncle Strib, Garden 615, the NFL coverage, and the NBA coverage. Alrighty, and before we get started, this podcast is brought to you by Final Form Supplements. Final Form Supplements is a supplement brand that's for the everyday gym rat as well as just your average everyday Joe. For general health, we have everything on there from protein powders to recovery with creatine and BCAAs to just a general multivitamin, things for hair, skin, and nails, as well as joint and sleep stuff. So go to finalformsubs.com and use promo code Strib, all caps, no space, to get 10% off your order. That's Final Form Subs, SUPPS, finalformsubs.com. Achieve your final form. Alrighty, so for the first episode, so officially the NBA season has officially started. I've been waiting for the NBA season to start to do the first episode of the NBA coverage. Unlike the NFL coverage, the NBA coverage is going to be it's going to be weekly, but obviously in the NFL it's easy to just do. I just do usually Tuesdays. I record because I wait till Monday night is over to go over all the games. NBA is a little different. There's games every day. There's 82 games per team. So it's not something I can do where it's like week 1, week 2, week 3. So I'm just going to do it weekly and just go over highlights and lowlights between teams. And I won't do every team. I'll just go over kind of like the talk of the town, or I might even go over some things that are being talked about that I think should be talked about. And we're just going to, dive into what's going on. So for this first episode, it's only been a couple of games for the teams, but it's a couple episodes I want to go over teams that I'm going to have on my radar for the season, and players, of course, as well, and then how I think things are going to shape up as we get into the NBA, as well as my thoughts on like the play-in tournament, the end-season tournament, as well as maybe some playoff predictions. I doubt I'll get to that far because I hate doing playoff predictions this early, but we'll talk about that. So first things first, there's a lot of trades that happened over this offseason. The Phoenix Suns acquired Bradley Beal, and they got what's his name? Jurkic. I forget how to say his name. The center from Portland as well. I believe it's Nurkic or Nurkic, something like that. They acquired him as well as Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal hasn't played yet, but you have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant on the Suns. So the Suns are looking like a big contender for the NBA playoffs or the NBA championship, as well as you have Kristaps Porzingis, which is a very, very quiet move because Kristaps Porzingis was acquired earlier in the offseason. And then later with this big three-team trade for Damian Lillard, the Celtics acquired Drew Holiday, which was a major pickup for the Celtics to pretty much because they got rid of Marcus Smart, or they traded, or Marcus Smart did not stay. I don't want to say got rid of, but Marcus Smart is no longer with the team, so they had to replace that defensive presence at the guard spot. But I think they end up winning in that spot because Marcus Smart's great. He can do what he do on offense, but if you look at Marcus Smart to Drew Holiday, defensively, they're about the same, but I do think Drew Holiday has a little bit higher caliber or a little bit higher degree of offensive scoring. So you kind of replace that defense with also improving your offense a little bit with Drew Holiday. But people forgot about Kristaps Porzingis that would move to the team, which is a big, big, big deal for the Celtics. Now you got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and you got Drew Holiday as your lineup for Celtics, and they've been playing well so far into the season. Next, we have another. So those are the teams I have them already, and then obviously Milwaukee. Damian Lillard, his debut, he scored 39 points. He had a rough game last game, didn't do too well, and he had a rough game today. I have my notes here for today. I don't want to go too in depth because there's just too much stuff going on. The Bucks, they did get the win over Miami. Obviously, Giannis had 33. I believe Dame had 25. So not too bad. He started off rough, with 25, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 50% from the field, 7 of 14. Free throw line, 9 of 11. That's what saved him, is his free throw shooting. 9 for 11, 9 points right there. And then three-pointer, he was 2 for 7. Plus or minus was 2. So he ended up doing better. And then last game, like I said, he didn't do too well. But Milwaukee, I believe Milwaukee's the favorite overall, the highest favorite to win the NBA championship. Obviously, adding Dame with Giannis, it's just one of those two-headed monsters. It's hard to beat because if you clog the paint or you try to dominate the paint to stop Giannis, you have a guy like Dame that can hit you from mid-range and deep, as well as get to the basket and finish. So you got a pick and roll option there with Giannis and Dame. You also have Giannis drive, kick out to Dame. You still got Chris Middleton, and you still have Brook Lopez to come off the bench and give you some defensive presence. So you got a lot of things going on. Hey, sit down. Sorry about that. My dog is being very rowdy. Anyway, things like that. So you got the Milwaukee Bucks. Another team I want to keep on my radar for this season is the Clippers. Clippers, I think, are kind of being like, I might have Clippers as I don't know if I consider them a sleeper team, but nobody talks about them. So I'm gonna label them a sleeper team. But you still got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. You still have Westbrook, which you can say what you want about Westbrook. Ever since he's got to the Clippers, he's played a lot better. Last game, if I remember correctly, this last game, he was straight cooking. Let me find it. If I forget when this last game was. Clippers. There's no way it was that long ago. Oh yeah, Clippers right here. Clippers beat the Spurs 83-123. And then Westbrook had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. So maybe it wasn't that game, but he's been playing a lot better. And he's starting to find his role in the team. He's not the primary scorer. He's actually, when healthy, he's the number 3 option. But dropping 20 points as a number 3 option, that's going to be solid as long as he can take care of the ball. And then you also have the James Harden debacle with the 76ers, so there's no guarantee that he's going to even be a factor. He didn't travel with the team, but he was on the bench. He was with the team today for their game. But then you still got Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons is starting to look good, but I don't really have Nets on my radar. Let me look at other teams. Let me see. So you got the Celtics. You got the Bucks. Knicks. Knicks are going to be interesting now that Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and you have RJ Barrett. Like they got a solid squad, so I think the Knicks are always going to be in that conversation. So that's a team I'm going to watch out for. And then Miami Heat, always, people like to count them out, but they're that team that's not going to do too much, not going to be too loud in the regular season. When the playoff hits, it's a different team, and they're going to make a playoff push there. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets, they look fantastic. They look like they might go back-to-back. They look phenomenal. And you got a fully healthy Murray. You got a fully healthy Murray, and then you got Michael Porter Jr. playing well. You got Aaron Gordon playing well. Obviously, you got the Joker playing well. So that team is going to be an absolute problem. Denver Mavericks. I'm not going to lie. I went to the Mavs game. I went to a preseason Mavs game, their last preseason game. And Kyrie played about three full quarters-ish, about 3 quarters. And he looked pretty good. If that's the Kyrie that they get for the season, I do think that the Mavs are going to be a problem, assuming they can play together. They're 2-0 so far. If Kyrie and Luka can actually play together for the majority of the season, I think they could be a sleeper team as well in the West. Dallas Mavs and the Phoenix Suns, like I said, Golden State Warriors. It's not a team I have on my radar because I feel like the Warriors are pretty much, they're going to do what they do. They're 2-1. But also, we all know Steph Curry is an absolute monster. As long as he's on the court, and Klay Thompson, as long as they're both on the court, and you got a guy like Andrew Wiggins to kind of give you your 15 to 20 when you need it, also play good defense, then the Warriors, the Warriors are the Warriors. So it's not a team I really have on my radar because I feel like they're going to do well like they normally do. But I do have them kind of in the same situation as last year where they're that middle of the pack and the high tier middle of the pack. So I can see them being like a 4th, 5th, 6th seed in the West when it's getting closer to the playoffs. Obviously, Lakers. LeBron James looks good so far going into his 21st season. Anthony Davis, he still seems a little shaky. He only had 17 points last game, but he played phenomenal. 17 points 2 games ago. This last game, he's played well, and they're actually playing right now. But I think the Lakers are also another team that I'm going to keep on my radar just because on paper they are significantly better than they were last year. And that after they made the roster moves, like I figured what was going to happen is they made some adjustments. They got better after the All-Star break. They started going on some win streaks. They ended up making a deep playoff run. They went from not even making the playoffs. So they went from people not even having them make the playoffs because how bad they started to making it to the Western Conference Finals to play Denver. So you take that same team. I think they got a little bit better, but defensively, you take that same team and you give them a full offseason together. You get them a full preseason together. You get LeBron healthy. You start with a healthy AD, and as long as you can manage the load for AD to keep him healthy throughout the season, I think the Lakers also are another team to keep on people's radar. And then I think outside of that, that's pretty much the only team I have on my radar so far. Looking forward to the NBA. And that's the East and the West. As far as, I guess I'll go over some games today. And when I do these, I'll probably just go over the games today so far that have transpired, since I don't have the time to do the week or like the past few days because there's just so many games. But Miami Bucks lost to the Miami Heat lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis had 33. Tyler Hero had 35. And Jimmy Butler had 13, 4, and 4. So I think Jimmy Butler, if he can find a way to, we all know Jimmy Butler kind of he plays well in the regular season, but he does usually start slow at the beginning of the season, and then midway through when he's on his game, and then it's usually the playoffs where we get this next level of play. I think I think for Miami, I think they should focus on getting Jimmy Butler hot now, getting him to maintain that for the regular season, so it puts them in better positioning. So when they get to the playoffs, they don't have to do what they did last year. They went all the way to the Eastern. Again, they did just like the Lakers. They went to play in. They played in the play-in tournament, and they lost the first game. So they went from the longest route. They do a play-in tournament, lose the first game, so they have a must-win, do-or-die second game to play in. They win that. Then their 8th seed, the last seed, they sweep the number 1 team in the East, the Bucks, and they go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. No, I take that back. They played in the finals, right? Man, last year seems so long ago. Yeah, they make it all the way to the finals to play Denver. So not only did they beat the Celtics, they made it to the finals through the play-in tournament. The same route Lakers took. They went through the play-in, made all the way to the West Conference Final. But Miami got it done against the Celtics. So I think if they can get themselves in a better position to where they don't have to play, and I knew they weren't going to beat Denver, even ignoring talent, ignoring MVP Jokic, ignoring all of that, I knew they weren't going to win simply because Denver had finished their series early and they had 2 weeks off. Miami went through play-in all the way through, playing all the way through, get to the Western Conference Finals. That goes to a game 6 or 7, I believe, so it went long. And then they win that, get 2-3 days off, and then bam, they're in the finals. That's just so many games played. And Jimmy played. If you watch the Celtics Miami series, Jimmy Butler played so hard. He literally had to pull every trick out of the hat to get that win, to win that series. So it just looked like when Miami got to Denver, they just looked exhausted. And that was a big factor right there. And they had to go in Denver at an altitude. That altitude difference it matters. So they go in Denver where they're at disadvantage just from the altitude. I mean, it was a tough, but I think that's what Miami really has to focus on to get to that next level. Lakers and Magic are playing right now. It's tied 10-10, 6:25 left in the first. Denver's beating Utah with 11 minutes left in the fourth. So Denver's looking like a well-oiled machine. What I will say is, speaking of well-oiled machine, the Warriors are also looking like a well-oiled machine just with Chris Paul. Oh, another big trade I forgot to mention. Chris Paul to the Warriors. So when Chris Paul's on the floor and you take a lot of that pressure off Steph to be the primary ball handler, and since Chris Paul isn't a ball-dominant point guard because he's a ball distributor and he's a play runner, he's a field general is what we call it. A field general is where he's not like a score first point guard, like the modern day point guards are. They're like your score first point guard. He is a field general, so he's looking to make the play for your player. So now you have Steph in certain situations becoming a spot up shooter. You're taking less pressure off of Steph, and now you can get other guys going because Chris Paul has the ability to just distribute the ball and get other guys open purely from just placement and his IQ in basketball. So when I watched the Warriors game, they look like when you can see the difference when Chris Paul's on the court. They're like a well-oiled machine. When he's not on the court, they don't look bad, but you can tell it's not the same. Because there are some passes that Chris Paul had when he's on the court. It's like without Chris Paul, that pass doesn't, that play doesn't happen. That basket doesn't happen. He's taking these screens and he's stretching out the defender away from the paint, and he's just putting the ball in tight spots for the guy that's rolling to get these layups, or he's bringing the ball up the court and he just sees. His vision is just different. He's bringing the ball up the court and he bam, because even the guy that's cutting is just cutting just to cut, or maybe he's cutting just because the play requires a cut, not because he's looking for the ball. And there's times where players are cutting the cut, Chris Paul throws it and it lands right in the player's hands, and he's like, oh snap, and then he goes for the layup. Like they look like a well-oiled machine with Chris Paul. I believe that Chris Paul is going to be a major reason for their success for the Warriors, and I think they'll be more consistent with Chris Paul on the court. All right, now we have Celtics, Wizards. Boston Celtics won 126-107. Jaylen Brown had 36 points. That Jaylen Brown and Tatum duo is going to be crazy. I believe if this year, if Tatum and Brown can be consistent, because the problem with Tatum and Brown in the past years, they're inconsistent. When they're hot, they're hot. When they are cold, they're cold. If they can find a way to be consistent together, they'll dominate. Especially with Kristaps Porzingis. His first game, he scored the most points in his Celtics debut of any player. I think he scored like 30-something, maybe 39, something wild. Kristaps Porzingis being a stretch five is also crucial because last year their center was a true center, Williams, and they've had Horford in there. Horford's you could argue stretch, but Kristaps is a true stretch center. So now you have the ability to still have him in for defensive purposes and for rim protecting as for the defensive purposes, but you don't have to worry about clogging the paint because you can have plays set up to where you can space out the floor. Or if you want to throw him in and switch it up to get a post game going, he's 7'4", he could do that. Or he can also make a move. They have more options with Kristaps' offensive abilities to space the floor and not have to clog the paint. If you don't want him to, you can put him on the perimeter and he can still kill you from the three. So that's really crucial for the Celtics. But if Tatum and Brown can be consistent, they don't have to be consistent at the same time. If one of them can carry the weight while the other one's struggling, that's all they need. The problem is when they both struggle, which they do often. But if Tatum's having a down day and Brown can take over and dominate, and then Porzingis does his thing, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. And this is the year that they can do it with that lineup. If they do it right, obviously. Trailblazers 99 over Toronto 91. Bulls beat the Pacers. Speaking of Bulls, Zach LaVine. First of all, Alex Caruso's looking great. Defensive man, just a monster. They're going to be so much. When Lonzo finally comes back, they're going to be a problem. And then Zach LaVine, last game, the team scored 102 points. They lost. They scored 102 points. Zach LaVine had 51. In 2023, this man scored half of his team's points. Like, that's like 2K type stuff. He scored 51. The rest of his team combined scored 51. He matched what the rest of his team did, which is wow. And I'm on my fantasy team, so that was clutch. But Bulls get the dub over the Pacers. The Brooklyn Nets got the dub over the Charlotte Hornets. And Hang on, give me a sec. I'm losing his name. Cam Thomas. Or is it Cam? Yeah, Cam Thomas is playing out of his mind. He's averaged 30 points or more since the season started, and he's playing like he's going to be an all-star this year. But I'll be interested to see if he can consistently keep that up, because he's just starting the season. But what he'll be looking like halfway through the season is what I'm interested in. Timberwolves lose to the Atlanta Hawks 127-113. That boy DeJounte Murray, which they got from the Spurs, dropped 41. Anthony Edwards dropped 31. Anthony Edwards is looking like he could potentially be the next young face of the NBA. I can see just the way he plays. He plays hard. He plays athletic, and he also has a bag. And he has a bag as well as he can shoot. So he's kind of a little bit of everything. He can get to the rim and dominate in the post and dominate finishing. He can get you pull up, get a little mid-range. He can get you a little step-back three. He's got the handles to be athletic. He can create his own plays. He's a playmaker. So I think if he plays his cards right and he continues the level of play that he's playing, I can see him taking, I don't want to say taking the torch as like the best in the league, but I can definitely see him being as one of the faces of the NBA. All right, Pistons lose to the Oklahoma City Thunders. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's one of the favorites to be MVP this year. He's continued that level of play that he had last year. You talk about one of the best mid-rangers in the game. He gets to his little spot, and the way he plays I love the way he plays the game because he sets his own pace. Like he never looks like he's trying to get anywhere fast. Like he's quick. He's got these quick shifty moves, but it's almost like he's gonna get to his spot when he gets it. No matter how like pressured the defense is in him. Most guys, when you see like that pressure defense in them, they kind of get to like they let the defense speed them up. With Shai, it's almost like he sees that pressure and he slows down the defender with his moves. So he's taking his time and he has his quick step. The defender like kind of freaks out and then he'll stop, he'll slow down. Like the change of pace he has on his moves is absolutely beautiful. And then you let him get to his little short corner fadeaway or a little short corner pull up he has, or gets to the elbow like short wing. Dude's almost a guaranteed bucket. But OKC gets it done 124. Pistons 112. Dallas Mavs, game is over. They beat the Grizzlies 125-110. Luka had 35. Let me see what it looks like Kyrie did not play. Left foot sprain. So we'll see if Kyrie and Luka can actually get some games together. But Mavs get the Dugs. The Warriors, 130-102. Like I said earlier, Steph Curry, 42 points. I mean, dude is an absolute monster. Chris Paul, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 6 for 10, 60% from the field. So again, he's just distributing the ball when his plus minus is 17 when he's on the court. And then I talked about the Bucks, Miami. So that's what's going on. Couple things before I wrap this up I want to talk about is the in-season tournament. I am not really a fan of, at least I don't know. I'm interested to see how it's going to go. If I prefer it not to be an in-season tournament from my standpoint, I don't know. I don't want, because I view the game. I view the game as a fan, but I also view the game as, I don't want to say a reporter. I don't want to say a analyst, but from an athlete viewpoint, I guess. I'm not a fan of the in-season tournament. Because one, I don't know how it's going to work. So as a fan, I'm excited because it's just more basketball. It's going to be exciting basketball because of the tournament. So it's going to make, I do see what they're doing. They're trying to make the regular season relevant. Because everybody always says, oh, the beginning season doesn't matter. There's 82 games. Regular season doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter until after the All-Star break. So I think with this, they're trying to make the beginning of the NBA season like more attractive, because now they can get more people watching earlier. It's just gonna be more money for them to make. But I don't know how it's gonna work, because if it's a tournament, do the games in the tournament count towards your record? Do these games count as a part of the 82 games? Is it like, how does that work? And then if you win, what does that, like, I guess you get a trophy, but after that, what happens after the tournament? Does your winning affect your seeding? If the games for the tournament do count towards their record, then that means there's going to be not everybody's going to have the same amount of games played, because obviously the further you go in the tournament, the more games you have versus if you get dipped out early. And then is it single elimination, double elimination, or is it kind of like the play-in tournament to where, is it do or die, or if you lose, there's like you go down to a different bracket and you could, like, I don't know how that works. I'm sure they got the rules or the layout of that somewhere, but it starts literally in a couple weeks, so I'm gonna just wait it out and see how it is. And again, I'm also not a fan of the play-in tournament. I understood the play-in tournament when they implemented it. They implemented it during COVID because in the middle of the season, they shut down. And so it wasn't fair to just start the season back up and your seeding is what it was, because however many weeks or months, however long the season was shut down, usually when the season's on, teams are moving up and down in the rankings. So because traditionally top 8 seeds, if you're top 8 at the end of the season, you advance to the playoffs. But it's not fair to the teams that were 6, 7, or even 9, 10, if they're all within like a couple games of each other, to just cut out half the season and then the season start back up. Okay, if you're 8 through whatever, we're going. It's not fair because teams can move up and down. So I got that they played, like, I think 10 games before the play-in to get the last, if you're close, to try your best to get in there. And then after that, they had the play-in tournament, and the 6th, 7th seed and the 8th, 9th seed, or the 7th, 8th seed and the 9th, 10th seed, those 4 would play each other. So if you were the 7th or 8th, you only had to win 1. If you won, you got in. But you had 2 chances to win because you're a higher seed. Then if you're 7 and you lose, you still get one more opportunity to win, to get in, because you are technically the higher seed at the start of the tournament. If you're at the 9th or 10th, you only got 1 shot. If you lost that first game, you're out because you were a lower seed. And so I understood that because they were making it fair, since they couldn't just make up the season. They didn't want to extend the season too long by making up those games they missed. So they had to give you 10 games, get back in it, play in, playoffs. I get it. The year after, you get a full season, they still doing the play-in. The reason why I'm not a fan is because it's not now, if you get a full season, it's not fair to the 7th and 8th seed to have to play in a tournament to secure the seed that they are. If you're the 7th seed and you went the entire season, you earned your 7th seed, you should be in the playoffs, because that's what you earned during the season. Sit down. Sorry about that. That's the seed you got in their season. It's not fair to the 8th seed. If you played and your heart out, and at the end of the season you got the 8th seed, you shouldn't have to play in a tournament to get that seed. You are the 8th seed, so you should just go in the playoffs. Now, obviously, I get it from a business aspect. If you're the NBA, why would you not have it again? Because one, you can charge the play-in tournament with tournament ticket prices, which are higher than regular season prices. So you'll make more money, and I guess it's more exciting, so you get more viewership because it's technically like a playoff setting. But also what I don't like about it is the stats you acquire during the play-in tournament, they don't count towards regular season. They don't count towards playoff, because technically you haven't made the playoffs. It's an in-season tournament, so it's a pre-playoff. So those stats don't even go anywhere. So now you're like in la la land with these stats. So to me, if you're gonna do that, just make the top 10 seeds. Just make the playoffs the top 10 seeds if you're gonna do that, right? If you're gonna have this play-in, you're causing it. It's more games. So if you're the 10th seed, you have a shot to make it to the finals, right? Because you go 10th seed, you win that first game, bam, you get the 8th seed spot. Then you go 8th seed, you go from the 8th seed, and you got to play number 1 team. You got to go all the way through the finals, right? That's more games than if you're the seed number 1, right? And the counter argument is, obviously, you got to give the first seed an advantage over the 10th seed because they were on first seed. Okay, cool, I get it. But if you're going to do that, instead of doing all that, just make the playoffs the top 10 teams and then have a bye week for the first 2 seeds, or however that would mathematically work, setting it up. But you can have a bye week or a bye series for the first seed and have the 10th seed play. You see what I'm saying? At least that's how I think it'd be better off like that. But, you know, as a fan, I'm still going to watch it. It's still exciting to watch because, you know, it's a tournament. But, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. And that's like kind of like the gist of the NBA coverage. That's going to be all for this week. So, and then next week, we'll just go over things that have transpired since this last video. I'll probably just record every once a week and just go over highlights, lowlights, you know, and what I'm looking forward to and how things are shaping out with the standings and all that good stuff. But I appreciate you guys for watching. I'm excited for this one and all the sports stuff we're doing. And I'll catch you guys next week.
I'm gonna chase my dreams, my life.